Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And now in this video, we will be understanding what are quantum numbers, and we will also see the shapes of orbitals. And I assure you guys that if you watch this video till the end, then you will get to know the real concept behind quantum numbers, and you will be easily able to solve minimum 4 to 5 questions in your JEE main examination on the basis of this. Okay, so let's start with the topic. So initially, as we all know, that Niels Bohr gave us a atomic model in which he said that the electrons will revolve around the nucleus in circular orbits. Okay, so Niels Bohr said that in the center there is a nucleus and around which the electrons are going to revolve in a circular orbit. But then came de Broglie. He said that electron has dual nature. Now, what is the meaning of this? He said that electron will sometimes behave like a wave and sometimes it will behave like a particle. And this model of Bohr was given on the complete assumption that electron is a particle. They did not consider that electron is a wave as well. So therefore, this atomic model of Bohr was rejected. Okay, since the Bohr's atomic model was rejected, now the electrons no more revolve in orbits. This first you should fix in your mind, that electrons do not revolve in orbit. Okay, the second thing you must remember is that an atom, a complete atom, is not two-dimensional, but it is three-dimensional. Now, I hope you all know what is the difference between a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional. For example, your circle is a 2D shape and your sphere is a 3D shape. Okay, so it was confirmed that the atom is a three-dimensional shape. Okay, now moving ahead, after de Broglie, there comes Heisenberg with his uncertainty principle. Now, what did Heisenberg tell in his uncertainty principle was that we cannot find exact position of the moving electron. He said that we cannot find the exact accurate position of the electron around the nucleus. So we cannot find the exact location of an electron around the nucleus. And this was proved right. If you want to know in depth about the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle as well as the de Broglie's equation, you can find the link in the description box below, or you can simply click on this I button on the right top corner of your screen. Okay, now moving ahead, after Heisenberg and de Broglie, everyone had a doubt in mind. Then where is the electron located in an atom? How will we get to know where is the electron around the nucleus? This was the big question in front of everyone now. So here comes Schrödinger. Schrödinger gave his wave equation. This is the wave equation which Schrödinger gave to us. And what he said to us is that with the help of this wave equation, we can find a 3D region in space around the nucleus where the probability of finding an electron is high. Now, what is the meaning of this? Suppose this is your nucleus. And one thing that we know about electrons is that electrons move around the nucleus. Okay, so Schrödinger said that with the help of this equation, we cannot find the exact position of the electron, but at least we can find a region around the nucleus where the chances of finding an electron is high. I hope you'll understand what is the meaning of probability. Probability means chances. So what Schrödinger said is that we can find a 3D region in space around the nucleus where the probability or you can say chances of finding an electron is high. For example, he said that let us consider an hydrogen atom. And as we all know that in a hydrogen atom, there is only one electron moving around the nucleus. So he said that for hydrogen atom, the region is a hollow sphere which is at a distance of 0.53 angstrom from nucleus. Now what is the meaning of this? He said that if we want to find out in which region the electron is moving, so with the help of this equation, he found out that there is a hollow sphere. And now I hope you all know what is the meaning of a hollow sphere. For example, a plastic cricket ball that we use. Okay, so he said that there is a hollow sphere around the nucleus which is at a distance of 0.53 angstrom. So he said that around the nucleus there is a hollow sphere, and on this sphere there is a electron. So he said that on this sphere we can find a electron. That is, the chance of finding an electron on this sphere is high. So he said that at a distance of 0.53 angstrom from the nucleus there is a sphere, and on that sphere, somewhere on that sphere, there is a electron. Okay, so this was found out by Schrodinger with the help of his wave equation. Now you don't need to study about this wave equation in depth because it is not in your portion. Okay, so with the help of this wave equation we can find out different shapes around the nucleus where we can find out a electron. So in the case of hydrogen, it was a sphere which is at a distance of 0.53 angstrom from the nucleus where you can find a electron. So on this sphere you are going to find a electron. I am repeating this again and again because this is the main concept that you need to understand, okay, in order to understand the structure of atom. So I hope you all understood that there is a hollow sphere around the nucleus, and on that sphere you can find a electron. Okay, this was said to us by Schrodinger. Now let us understand one definition. The 3D region in the space around the nucleus in which the probability of finding an electron is maximum is called as orbital. Now what is the meaning of this? Any 3D region in space, like here we have a sphere. So any 3D region in space which is around the nucleus, this is around the nucleus where the chances of finding an electron is high is called as orbital. So now I hope you all got to know what is the meaning of an orbital. An orbital is any region around the nucleus where there are high chances of finding an electron. You cannot find out the accurate position of electron, but at least we can find out a region where electron might be present. So with the help of an example of hydrogen, he said that there is a sphere at a distance of 0.53 angstrom on which you can find the electron. In like this way, the orbitals are classified into four main types. Okay, so the classification of orbitals is done into four types. The first one is S subshell, the second one is P subshell, the third one is D subshell, and the fourth one is F subshell. Okay, so now I hope I hope you all know what is the meaning of orbitals. An orbital is nothing but a region around the nucleus where the probability of finding an electron is high, and these orbitals are classified into four different types, that is S subshell, P subshell, D subshell, and F subshell. And within these subshells there comes your orbitals. That is, inside S subshell there is one S orbital. Inside P subshell there are three types of orbitals, that is px orbital, py orbital, pz orbital. And inside D subshell there are dxy orbital, dzx orbital, dyz orbital, dx square minus y square orbital, and dz square orbital. And inside F subshell category there are 7 orbitals. Okay, so these 7 orbitals there is no need for you all to study because they are very complicated, and you will not be asked any question in any of the examination, whether it be your NEET or JEE Mains or any of your board examination. So basically what you need to keep currently in mind is that the orbitals is classified into 4 types: S subshell, P subshell, D subshell and F subshell. These Px, Py, Dz, Dxy, these all orbitals I will be explaining you all ahead with the help of the quantum numbers. Okay, so now since we have understood these basic 4 classifications, let's move ahead. Okay, so now I will explain you all what is the basic difference between these categories. That is the basic difference between S subshell, P subshell, D subshell and F subshell. The basic difference between the categories is that all orbitals in S subshell are going to have a spherical shape. Okay, and all orbitals in P subshell, whether it be your Px, Py, Pz, they all are going to have dumbbell shape. So these P orbitals, all orbitals in P subshells are going to have dumbbell shape, and all orbitals in D subshell are going to have double dumbbell. Can you see this? One dumbbell and this is the second dumbbell. Similarly, all orbitals in F subshell are going to have 4 dumbbells. If you observe carefully, you can notice 4 dumbbells over here. First one, the second one, the third one and the fourth one. Okay, so here there are 4 dumbbells in F subshell, there are 2 dumbbells in D subshell, and there is 1 dumbbell, this shape is called dumbbell, in P subshell, and all the orbitals in S subshell are going to have a spherical shape. And if you observe carefully, in hydrogen atom we had got a spherical region around the nucleus. So can I call this spherical region as a S subshell, because all S subshells have spherical shape. So all the orbitals inside F subshell have spherical shape, therefore this sphere indicates S subshell. And moving ahead, if you observe here one thing carefully, that inside S subshell there is only one type, that is S orbital. So can I call this sphere to be S orbital? Whether you call it to be S subshell or S orbital, it is going to be one and the same, because inside S subshell there is only one type of orbital, that is S orbital. So there is no classification ahead in S subshell. Now moving ahead, so if you have understood the concept of orbitals, let's move ahead to the main topic of today, that is the quantum numbers. Okay, so now basically what are quantum numbers? Those numbers which specify the energy of electron or they specify the location of electrons are called as quantum numbers. In simple words, if I tell you all what is the meaning of quantum numbers are simply those numbers which give you detailed information about the electron. So with the help of these quantum numbers, you are going to get a detailed information about the electron, in what is its location, what is its energy, everything you are going to get with the help of these quantum numbers. Now there are 4 quantum numbers that we require. The first one is the principal quantum number, which is represented by n. Second one, the azimuthal quantum number, which is represented by L. The third one is the magnetic quantum number, which is represented by M. And the fourth one is spin quantum number, which is represented by S. So with the help of these 4 quantum numbers, you can totally define in which region is your electron, or in which orbital is your electron. Every detailed information will be given to you with the help of this N, L, M, S quantum numbers. So now let us understand the first quantum number, that is principal quantum number. So now what is the help of this principal quantum number, which is represented by n? So now the value of n tells us the number of energy level of an orbital. For example, 1s, 2s, 3s. Now I know that you might be wondering what is this statement all about. And you all even don't know what is 1s, 2s and 3s. So let's first of all understand what is 1s, 2s, 3s, and then with the help of this 1s, 2s and 3s, we will reach to this concept of energy level, which is represented by n, that is principal quantum. So first let us understand what is 1s, 2s and 3s. See, as we have seen earlier in an hydrogen atom, this green color is your nucleus, and around this nucleus we got a sphere. And what is this sphere? This sphere is nothing but a orbital. And what is the meaning of orbital? Orbital is a region where you can find a electron. There is high probability of finding an electron on this orbital. And since this orbital is spherical in shape, it is called as s orbital. Am I right? This spherical orbital is called as s orbital. Okay. Now on this s orbital, that is on this sphere, above this sphere, there is one more s orbital. Okay, there is one more s orbital, that is a bigger sphere is there above this sphere. Can you see this one s orbital over here, and above this orbital there is one more bigger s orbital, that is one more bigger sphere, like a balloon inside a balloon, if you have seen any of the time. And above this second s orbital there is one more big s orbital. Okay, now you might be wondering why there are so many s orbitals. See, one s orbital can only accommodate 2 electrons, and as you know that in atom there are many electrons, so for accommodating other electrons you require more orbitals. Okay, so in this s orbital there will be only 2 electrons, and in this next orbital, next sphere, there will be some 2 electrons. Like this one you need many s orbitals. Okay, now what is the difference between this first s orbital, second s orbital and third s orbital? The basic thing which you can see over here is that there is a difference in size. That is, the first sphere is smaller, the second is bigger, and third is more bigger. So can I say, when you compare the first sphere and the third sphere is away from the nucleus? Am I right? The third sphere is away from the nucleus, whereas the first sphere is very close to the nucleus. And in this sphere we are going to have an electron. Am I right? Now since this sphere is closer to the nucleus, therefore there is a force of attraction between the positively charged nucleus and the negatively charged electron. So this nucleus is going to hold the electron which is moving in this sphere. And because there is force of attraction, the electron will not be able to move freely. And since it is not able to move freely, therefore the energy of electron is less. Whereas when you see in the third sphere, okay, the electron which is revolving in the third sphere is far away from the nucleus. Now since it is far away from the nucleus, therefore the force of attraction is less. And since force of attraction is less, therefore the electron which is in the third sphere will be able to move freely. And since it is able to move freely, therefore it has greater energy as compared to the electron which is in the first sphere. Okay, now so can I say that the 3s orbital, this third s orbital is going to have greater energy than the second s orbital, and this second s orbital is obviously going to have greater energy than this first s orbital. So along with the size, there is a energy difference in these s orbitals also. Now you might be wondering, yaar, these are or s orbitals only, na? They are spherical in shape. All are spherical in shape, so they all are s orbitals only. So why are they named as 1s, 2s, and 3s? These 1, 2, and 3 are nothing but their energy levels. So this 1s orbital is in the first energy level, whereas this second s orbital is in the second energy level. This 3s indicates that this third orbital, that is the third sphere, is in the third energy level. Okay, like in your games we have levels, right? As the level increases, the difficulty increases. Similarly here, as the energy level increases, the energy also increases. As you move from the first sphere to second sphere, the energy increased. As you move from the second sphere to the third sphere, again the energy has increased. So I know I have said lot of statements in the last 1-2 minutes, so let's jot them down together. See, what we have done initially is that the s orbital, which is closer to the nucleus, will experience more force of attraction. Okay, now due to this, the electron is not able to move freely, and since it is not able to move freely, therefore its energy is less. So can I comment that the closer orbitals will have less energy, as we have seen that the 1s had the less energy as compared to the 2s and 3s, and far away orbitals will have more energy. It is obvious that more away is the sphere, the more energy it is going to have. And 1s is in first energy level, as I explained again that the number 1 in this 1s is nothing but its energy level. This indicates that it is in first energy level, and since it is in first energy level, therefore your n becomes 1, which is nothing but your principal quantum number. So your principal quantum number has now become 1. Now similarly, can I tell what is the principal quantum number in 2s? It is obviously be going to 2. And in 3s, it is going to be 3, as we all know. So this 1s, 2s, 3s, whatever I have written indicates the energy level. The greater is the number, the greater will be the energy. I hope you have understood till here. So there are energy levels in an atom. Okay, there are energy levels in an atom. This 1s is in first energy level, this 2s is in second energy level, this 3s is in third energy level. Moving ahead, with the help of the value of this n, you can find out the energy of energy level. Like you can find out the energy of first energy level, second energy level, third energy level, so on. We will understand that. Okay, so this is the formula where this n is nothing but the number of energy level and this z is nothing but atomic number. Now suppose you want to find out the energy of first energy level in hydrogen atom. So for hydrogen atom, you want to find out the energy of first energy level. So what you will do, you substitute the atomic number as 1 and the number of energy level as 1, because you want to find out the energy level of first energy level. So z is equals to 1, n is equals to 1, and the energy of first energy level in hydrogen atom is 1312 kilojoules moles per second. Mole inverse. Now here there should be a minus sign, which I forgot to write. Now you might be confused, what is this energy of energy level? Relate it to your games. Like in games, you can arrange the difficulty for each level. Okay. Similarly, you can find out the energy of each energy level. Suppose you want to find out the energy of second energy level, all you have to do is put the value of n as 2. Suppose you want to find out the energy of third energy level, then you have to put the value of n as 3. Similarly, you can find out the energy of all energy levels, and the energy of energy level is obviously going to change with the atom, because the value of atomic number for different elements is different. So each element will have different energy of energy levels, which means that the energy level of the energy of first energy level in hydrogen atom will not be same as the energy of first energy level in carbon atom. I hope you're understanding. It is going to change with the elements. The first energy level of hydrogen and the first energy level of carbon, they both are not going to have same energy. Okay. So it depends on the game, right? How difficult is that game? Similarly here, when the element changes, the energy of the first energy level also changes. Now moving ahead, the energy of second energy level in hydrogen atom. This answer I want you all to comment below in the comment section. And mind you guys, don't use a calculator, because in the examination you are not going to get the calculator. Okay. Moving ahead, an energy level can have maximum 2n square electrons, which means that, for example, let's consider a question. Find the maximum number of electrons in fourth energy level. So what you are going to do over here, you will substitute the value of n as 4, and the answer that you get is 16. So there can be maximum 32 electrons in fourth energy level. Okay. Now moving ahead, a question for you. Find the maximum number of electrons in third energy level. So as I said earlier also, within an atom there are different energy levels. So in fourth energy level there will be 32 electrons. In the third energy level, how many electrons will be there? That's your job. So do comment below. Moving ahead. Here we finish the first quantum number, that is our principal quantum number. And what is the use of that principal quantum number? It tells us the energy level. Okay. It tells us energy level. Simply that. Okay. Second one is the azimuthal quantum number, which is represented by L. Now what is the use of this azimuthal quantum number? The value of L tells us the subshell present in the energy level, which means that it is going to tell us that in first energy level, which subshell is present, whether S subshell is present, P subshell is present, D subshell is present, or F subshell is present. Similarly, it is going to tell us that in fourth energy level, which subshell is present. So let us understand this now. See, for specific values of L, the subshell is fixed, which means that you need to remember these corresponding values. This only thing you need to remember in this video, rest all is concept based. See, suppose if the value of L is 0, 0 corresponds to S subshell, 1 corresponds to P subshell, 2 corresponds to D subshell, and 3 corresponds to F subshell. And these are nothing but the values of L. So if the value of L is 0, S, 1, P, 2, D, 3, F. Okay. Now moving ahead, but you might be wondering how to find the value of L. Okay. You need to find the value of L, then only you can find out which subshell is present in which energy level. Okay. See, finding the value of L is simple. L is nothing but all values from 0 to n minus 1. I know you might not have understood this. Let's understand with the help of an example. For example, let's consider, suppose n is equals to 3. And what is n is equals to 3? it is third energy level. N is equals to 3 means third energy level. So what are the values of L? L will have all values from 0 to n minus 1. And what is n over here? 3 minus 1. So 0 to 2. So L is going to have all values from 0 to 2. That is nothing but 0, 1, 2. Similarly, suppose if your n is 4. That is, suppose the energy level is 4th energy level. Then what are the values of L? Obviously from 0 to 4 minus 1. That is 0 to 3. That is 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now moving ahead, find the values of L for n is equals to 5. This is the question for you all and you have to comment below in the comments section. Now, if you have understood the azimuthal quantum number, whatever I have told you till now, it is time for us to understand one table over here. In this table, the first column indicates the energy level. The second column indicates the values of L. The third column indicates subshell. The fourth column indicates the number of subshell. Now let us understand what is this. Suppose you consider the first energy level, that is n is equals to 1. So what are the possible values of L from 0 to 1 minus 1? That is from 0 to 0. So 0 to 0 comes only one value. That is, the value of L is obviously going to be 0. Now, as I have told you earlier, you might have forgot. I have told you to remember these values, right? For 0 corresponds to s orbital. So obviously, since the value of L is 0, therefore the subshell which is present is s subshell. So value of 0 tells us it is a s subshell. But since this s subshell is present in the first energy level, therefore I have written it as 1s. Am I clear? Similarly, how many subshells are there? Only one. So number of subshells is equals to 1. Which means that the first energy level is only going to have one subshell, and that is S. It is not going to have P subshell, D subshell and F subshell. Is this clear with you all? This first energy level is only going to have one subshell, that is the 1s subshell. Similarly, moving ahead, for the second energy level. For the second energy level, what are the possible values of L from 0 to 2 minus 1? From 0 to 1. From 0 to 1, what are the values? Whole numbers 0 and 1. Okay. And as mentioned earlier, the value of L is equals to 0 corresponds to S subshell. And the value of L is equals to 1 corresponds to P subshell. And since this S and P are present in the second energy level, therefore I have written as 2S and 2P. And since there are two different subshells present over here, therefore the number of subshells is equals to 2. Now, so guys, now moving ahead to our third energy level where n is equals to 3. And if n is equals to 3, what are the possible values of L? The possible values of L are nothing but 0, 1 and 2. Because the values of L will range from 0 to 3 minus 1. That is from 0 to 2. Okay. And as we all know that if the value of L is 0, this 0 corresponds to the S subshell. This 1 corresponds to the P subshell. And this 2 corresponds to the D subshell. And since this S, P and D are present in the third energy level of an atom, therefore I have written them as 3S, 3P and 3D. Now how many number of subshells are present? Obviously 1, 2 and 3. So the number of subshells present in the third energy level are 3. Moving ahead to the fourth energy level. In the fourth energy level, the possible values of L will be of course from 0 to 4 minus 1, that is from 0 to 3. So the values of L will be 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now as we all know that 0 corresponds to the S subshell, 1 to the P subshell, 2 corresponds to the D subshell, and here a new subshell is added, that 3 corresponds to the F subshell. And since this S, P, D, F, they all are present in the fourth energy level, therefore I have written them as 4S, 4P, 4D and 4F. And the number of subshells present in the fourth energy level are nothing but 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now few things you need to observe over here carefully, guys. See, first thing, first energy level will have 1 subshells. Second energy level will have 2 subshells. Third energy level will have 3 subshells. And fourth energy level will have 4 subshells. So can I say whatever is your energy level, that many number of subshells you will be having. Can you see this column and this column is exactly equal. So now I hope you have understood how the value of L helps you all in finding which subshell is present in which energy level. And the second thing that you need to watch out for is that the first energy level does not consist of P, D and F subshell. It only consists of S subshell. The second energy level consists of only S and P subshell. It does not have D and F subshell. The third energy level consists of 3S, 3P, 3D, which means that only S, P and D subshell are there. F subshell is not there. And in the fourth energy level, all the subshells are present. Okay, now you might have be understanding in the principal quantum number I had taken 1S, 2S and 3S. Let's move over there. If you observe over here, see, I have taken as 1S, 2S and 3S, and where this 1, 2 and 3 are nothing but the energy levels. Okay, now this might help you to clear the concept. Now the second use of the finding the value of L is that you can find out the angular momentum of electron which is moving around the nucleus. So if you know the value of L, you just simply have to substitute the value of L in this equation and you can find out the angular momentum of that electron. Now don't get confused between this L and this L. This small l is nothing but your azimuthal quantum number, whereas this capital L is nothing but your angular momentum. Angular momentum is represented by capital L, and this H simply is your Planck's constant. And I hope you all know what is the value of this Planck's constant. The value of the Planck's constant is nothing but 6.62 into 10 raised to minus 34 joules seconds. Now moving ahead to the third advantage of finding the value of L, you can find out the maximum electrons present in a subshell. Now what is the meaning of this? You can find out how many maximum number of electrons are present in a S subshell. You can also find out how many maximum number of electrons are present in a P subshell, D subshell, F subshell and so on. Let's understand how with the help of this formula 2 into L plus 1. This is a L, don't take it as 1. Okay, now moving ahead, how to use this formula, let's understand that. For example, you want to find out the maximum number of electrons in S subshell. So as we all know that the value of L is equals to 0 corresponds to S subshell. So simply you have to put here 0 and what you get is 2. So there can be maximum 2 electrons in S subshell. Therefore, if you all remember, I told you that in this one S subshell there can be 2 electrons and this second sphere will consist of next 2 electrons. Not exactly next 2, but it will have only 2 electrons. So whatever might be the size of S orbital or your S subshell, it will have only 2 electrons. I hope this part is clear for you guys. Now moving ahead. Okay. Similarly, if you want to find out the maximum number of electrons in p subshell, now as we all know, the value of L is equals to 1 corresponds to p subshell. So simply substituting a value of L as 1, you can find out the maximum number of electrons present in subshell. And a homework for you all, you have to find out the maximum number of electrons in F subshell, and you have to comment below in the comment box. Okay. So now moving ahead to our third quantum number, that is nothing but the magnetic quantum number. Now what is the use of this magnetic quantum number, which is represented by m? Let's understand that. The value of m tells us the number of orbitals present in the subshell. Now what is the meaning of this? See, this value of m is going to tell you how many orbitals are present in S subshell, how many orbitals are present in P subshell, how many orbitals are present in D subshell and F subshell. How? Let's understand that. First you learn how to find out the value of m. The value of m is simply from minus L to plus L. Now what is the meaning of this? For example, suppose the value of L is 2. And what is L? Azimuthal quantum number. Don't forget that, guys. So suppose the value of L is 2. So the value of m is going to range from minus 2 to plus 2. So the possible values of m are minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. Similarly, suppose if you want to find out the values of m for L is equals to 3. So what you will do, it will range from minus 3 to plus 3. That is minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now guys, comment in the comment box below what are the possible values of m if your L is 1. Okay, so comment below. Now moving ahead. In this magnetic quantum number, I have divided this magnetic quantum number into 4 basic cases, and these 4 basic cases are going to help you all to understand the complete magnetic quantum number. Now don't worry, those cases are very small and they are very easy, so there is nothing to worry about that. Let's understand the first case. Suppose if the value of L is 0, so L is equal to 0. So first thing that should pop to your mind, L is equal to 0 means which subshell? S subshell. Okay, L is equal to 0 means S subshell. This should pop to your mind first. Now how to find out the values of m? The m will range from minus 0 to plus 0, and of course minus 0 to plus 0 is nothing but a single 0, as 0 does not have any positive or negative sign. Okay. Moving ahead, since the value of m is equal to 0, so how many number of values does m have? M has only one value, that is 0. Since m has only one value, therefore S subshell will consist of only one orbital, and that is nothing but your S orbital. Now I hope you might have understood why I said over here that this S subshell will have only one orbital. Okay. Now moving ahead, where it was. Okay. So your S subshell consists of only one orbital, which is S orbital, and the shape of it is somewhat like this. Okay. Now the second case, if your value of L is equals to 1. So if the value of L is equals to 1, the first thing that should pop to your mind is nothing but P subshell. L is equals to 1 corresponds to P subshell. Okay. Now moving ahead, what are the possible values of M? M will range from -1 to +1. And when you go from -1 to +1, The whole numbers are -1, 0 and +1. Now how many values of m are here? 1, 2 and 3. Now since there are 3 values of m, therefore p subshell will contain 3 orbitals, and these are those 3 orbitals: px, py, pz. Now why it is being named as px? Because this orbital is lying on the x-axis, whereas this p orbital, that is this p subshell, is lying on this y-axis. Therefore, it is named as py orbital, and this is named as pz orbital because it is lying on the z-axis. Okay, so I hope you have understood why I said over here that your p subshell is going to have 3 orbitals. Similarly, you might have assumed that now d subshell is going to have 5 orbitals, but then too we will see how 5 orbitals. Okay, suppose your value of L is 2. So when your value of L is equals to 2, the first thing that should pop to your mind is nothing but d subshell. Am I right? L is equals to 2 corresponds to d subshell. So when you hear about the d subshell, now let us find out the values of m. The possible values of m will be from -2 to +2. So m will have values -2, -1, 0, +1 and +2. But how many different values of m are present over here? 5 different values are present. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So how many subshell? So how many orbitals will d subshell have? So d subshell is going to have 5 orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And which are those orbitals? 5 orbitals. Let's understand them first. The dxy orbital, the dzx orbital, the dyz orbital, the dx square minus dy square orbital, and dz square orbital. Now why it is being named as xy, dxy. Okay, it is being named as dxy because if you observe carefully, this d orbital is lying completely on the xy plane. Is there any involvement of your z-axis? No, it is completely in the xy plane, therefore it is named as dxy. Similarly, this is completely on the dxz plane, therefore it is named as dzx orbital. Now since this is completely on the y and z plane, therefore it is named as dyz orbital. See, now we have understood these 3 orbitals. Now let us understand why it is being named as dx square minus dy square orbital. Because one dumbbell is lying on the y-axis, whereas the second dumbbell is lying on the x-axis. See, one dumbbell is lying on the x-axis and the another dumbbell is lying on the y-axis. So therefore it is named as dx square minus dy square, or you can simply call it as dx square minus y square. Okay, the 5th orbital in d subshell is your dz square. Here this is little bit different from the other 4 orbitals. Therefore it is named as dz square because it is only in the z axis and it has a donut shaped ring over here. Okay, so this is just a exceptional case in when it comes to your d subshell. So d subshell has 5 orbitals. I hope you have understood that. Now moving ahead, suppose if your value of L is 3. Suppose your value of L is 3, then first thing that should pop to your mind, that is nothing but F subshell. And since the value of L is 3, the value of M is going to range from -3 to +3. So what are the value of M? -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3, so on. Not so on, sorry, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Now, since there are 7 different values of m, therefore it is obvious that F subshell is going to have 7 orbitals. Okay, and these 7 orbitals you don't need to worry, because they don't need to study, because they are very complicated and they are not being asked in any of your examination for your at least 12th standard. Okay, moving ahead now, let's understand the fourth quantum number, and this is the easiest quantum number, which is nothing but the spin quantum number, which is represented by S over here. Okay, so what is the use of this S? This S basically has two values. If the value of S is equals to half, it indicates that the electron is moving in the clockwise direction. And suppose if the value of S is minus half, it indicates that the electron is moving in an anti-clockwise direction. I hope you all know what is clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. So this is the simple use of this spin quantum number. Now let us have a very quick revision about what we did exactly in this video. See, first of all, we saw what is the meaning of orbitals. Orbitals are nothing but a region which are where the possibility of finding an electron is high. So this is what we have seen, the definition of orbital, the 3D region in the space around the nucleus in which the probability of finding an electron is maximum is called as orbital. And there are basically 4 types of orbitals, that is the S subshell, P subshell, D subshell and F subshell. And within these types there are your orbitals. S subshell contains of only one S orbital, P subshell contains of only 2 orbitals, D contains of 3 orbitals and F has 7 orbitals. And why it has so, we have seen this in the magnetic quantum number. And then we move ahead to the quantum numbers, and in the quantum numbers are nothing but those numbers which gives us the complete information about the electron are called as the quantum numbers. We have seen the definition, and then we have seen that there are 4 quantum numbers. The first quantum number is the principal quantum number. And what is the use of this principal quantum number? This principal quantum number helps us to find the energy level. Am I right? So you can find out the energy level of the electron, in which energy level it is present. Secondly, this azimuthal quantum number. What is the use of this azimuthal quantum number? It tells us the value of L, and it tells us which subshell is present in which energy level. So it is going to tell you in first energy level which subshell is present, in second energy level which subshell is present, and so on. And the third one is nothing but the magnetic quantum number, which is represented by M. And this magnetic quantum number is going to tell you that which orbitals are present in which subshell. So here, in short, we went from the energy level to the subshell, from subshell to the orbitals. And the fourth part is nothing but a spin quantum number, which tells that how is your electron going to move. So guys, this was all about your quantum numbers and the shapes of orbitals. If you like this video, then please do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more such interesting videos, and do subscribe to the channel and go check out my channel where I uploaded chemistry and physics videos. They might be helpful for you also. And guys, thanks for watching this long video.